Imagine your last bite of bread, the final grain of refined sugar dissolving on your tongue. Something profound is about to begin. Deep inside your abdomen, behind your stomach, an organ you cannot see has been working in desperate silence. Your pancreas, which has been flooding your bloodstream with insulin meal after meal, finally receives a signal it has been waiting for. The refined carbohydrates have stopped coming, and now the real work begins. For years, we've been told that carbohydrates are essential for energy, that cutting them is extreme. But what if that belief misses something crucial? What if your pancreas possesses a resilience that modern medicine is only beginning to understand? The human body was not designed for constant glucose spikes, but for cycles of abundance and scarcity. What if, hidden within your biology, lies an ancient mechanism for metabolic recovery, waiting to be activated? When you eliminate refined carbs, you're not just changing a diet. You're initiating a biological cascade that reaches into every cell, every hormone, every corner of your metabolism. So what actually happens when your pancreas realizes the sugar has stopped? What hidden processes begin in those first crucial hours? The answers are both remarkable and humbling, and they start almost immediately. The first 6 hours feel like deprivation. Your blood sugar stabilizes, and your body begins to register the change. This is when cravings whisper their first warnings. Hunger sharpens, irritability builds, and a restless energy moves through your nervous system. Your brain has adapted to quick glucose hits, and now it must remember how to access other fuel sources. But beneath this surface discomfort, something extraordinary is occurring. Your beta cells, the specialized insulin factories inside your pancreas, are no longer being forced into emergency overdrive. For however long you've been eating refined carbohydrates, these cells have been responding to constant glucose spikes without pause. Every meal of white bread, every snack of processed sugar, has demanded an immediate insulin response. The cycle that has been quietly exhausting your pancreas begins to ease. It's subtle at first, imperceptible, but real. Every hour without refined carbs is an hour your beta cells can redirect their energy from crisis management to actual recovery. The change isn't dramatic, but it's profound. Your pancreas has been in survival mode. Now, for the first time in perhaps years, it can consider something more. This hunger you feel isn't weakness. It's recalibration in its earliest form. Your body is remembering what metabolic balance feels like. And while the cravings demand attention, the healing operates in silence, patient and persistent. Days 2 and 3 bring what researchers call the adaptation phase, though it feels more like a storm. Energy crashes unpredictably, brain fog descends, and your body seems to be protesting the very choice you've made. Some call it the carb flu. Headaches emerge. Concentration falters. The fatigue feels almost aggressive. Yet this turbulence has purpose. Beneath the surface, your metabolism is undergoing a fundamental shift. Your brain, which has relied primarily on glucose for fuel, begins producing enzymes to use ketones instead. These molecules, created from fat breakdown, represent an ancient fuel source. Your pancreas, meanwhile, increases glucagon production. This hormone, insulin's opposite, mobilizes stored energy and maintains blood sugar without requiring constant carbohydrate intake. For months, or perhaps years, your beta cells have been working at maximum capacity, pumping out insulin in response to blood sugar spikes multiple times daily. The inflammatory signals that accompany these surges have been bathing your pancreatic tissue in stress hormones. Now, with refined carbs absent, this inflammation begins its retreat. Cellular debris that has accumulated starts to clear. You might feel worse before you feel better, and there's wisdom in understanding why. This isn't your body failing. This is what metabolic recalibration looks like when it's finally allowed to happen. The fatigue is real, but underneath these symptoms, reconstruction has begun. Within 7 days, something astonishing becomes measurable. Your fasting insulin levels, which may have been elevated for years, begin to fall. Research shows that within 1 week of eliminating refined carbohydrates, insulin can drop by 20 to 30%. Your body is producing less of this hormone because it needs less of it. But this change runs deeper than simple reduction. Your cells, which may have become resistant to insulin's signal, begin responding appropriately again. Insulin resistance works like this. When cells are constantly bombarded with insulin, they protect themselves by reducing their sensitivity. The receptors on cell surfaces that bind insulin become fewer or less responsive. Your pancreas compensates by producing even more insulin, creating a vicious cycle. 1 week without refined carbs, and this cycle breaks. The insulin receptors on your muscle cells, fat cells, and liver cells begin to wake up. They start responding to normal insulin levels the way they were designed to. Your beta cells no longer need to scream their chemical message. A whisper becomes sufficient. This change extends beyond the molecular level. Energy returns in unexpected ways. The afternoon crashes that felt inevitable begin to disappear. Mental clarity sharpens because your brain is efficiently using ketones. The bloating decreases. Your body, freed from the constant glucose roller coaster, begins to remember its natural rhythm. By day 5, if you were paying attention to your body's signals, you would notice something remarkable. The urgent hunger that used to strike every few hours has transformed into something more manageable. This isn't willpower. This is biology. Your appetite hormones, leptin and ghrelin, are finding their proper balance because insulin is no longer interfering with their signals. The ripple effects move outward in unexpected directions. Your skin, which may have been producing excess sebum in response to high insulin levels, begins to clear. Insulin directly stimulates oil glands, and when those signals decrease, inflammation in your skin tissue follows. Facial puffiness reduces. Dark circles under your eyes lighten. Sleep quality shifts in ways that seem unconnected, but aren't. When you were eating refined carbs, your blood sugar would spike after dinner, then crash in the middle of the night, triggering cortisol release that would either wake you or prevent deep sleep. Now your blood sugar remains stable through the night. Your pancreas rests. Your sleep cycles deepen. These aren't minor adjustments. These are fundamental shifts in how your physiology operates. Your pancreas has stopped working in constant emergency. The beta cells that were exhausted are beginning to recover their sensitivity and precision. Your body is no longer lurching from crisis to crisis. It's finding its rhythm. By the second week, if you could examine your blood, you would witness something profound. Inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein begin to fall. These molecules, which flood your system in response to metabolic stress, have been elevated for as long as refined carbohydrates have dominated your diet. Declining levels signal that the chronic fire burning inside your metabolic tissues is finally being extinguished. Inflammation in the pancreas operates through a feedback loop. Refined carbs spike blood sugar. Your beta cells flood the bloodstream with insulin, and this insulin surge triggers inflammatory responses throughout your body. These inflammatory molecules circle back to your pancreas, making your beta cells less efficient. This forces them to work even harder, producing more inflammation. The cycle perpetuates itself. 2 weeks without refined carbs, and this cycle breaks. Your immune system, recognizing that the metabolic threat has passed, begins to stand down. The inflammatory cytokines that have been bathing your pancreatic tissue start to clear. Your beta cells, no longer surrounded by chemical stress signals, begin to function with greater efficiency. The effects extend beyond blood tests. Digestion improves because your entire gastrointestinal system is less inflamed. Joint pain that you attributed to aging may decrease. Even mood stabilizes because inflammation affects neurotransmitter production in your brain. Around week 2, your metabolism remembers something it may have forgotten. You can go 4, 5, even 6 hours without eating, and your energy remains stable. This isn't starvation. This is metabolic flexibility, the capacity to seamlessly switch between fuel sources. Your body is no longer dependent on constant glucose intake because it has remembered how to access stored fat for energy. This ability is encoded in your DNA, refined over hundreds of thousands of years. Your ancestors didn't eat every 3 hours. They couldn't. The human body evolved exquisite mechanisms to maintain energy during periods without carbohydrate intake. Your pancreas plays a central role in this flexibility, managing the delicate balance between insulin and glucagon. Insulin and glucagon work like a perfectly calibrated seesaw. When blood sugar rises, insulin dominates, storing excess energy. When blood sugar falls, glucagon takes over, releasing stored energy. For months or years of refined carb consumption, this seesaw has been jammed in the insulin-dominant position. Now, with carbs eliminated, the balance returns. This is why your energy feels different now. You're not experiencing the manic highs and desperate lows of blood sugar swings. You're operating on steady, sustained fuel. Your pancreas is no longer in emergency mode. It's functioning as a conductor, not a firefighter. By week 3, something remarkable activates at the cellular level. Your beta cells, which have been working under constant stress, begin a process called autophagy. This is cellular house cleaning, a mechanism where damaged proteins and dysfunctional components are broken down and recycled. It's like renovation happening inside each cell, clearing debris and rebuilding with fresh materials. Autophagy increases dramatically when refined carbohydrates are absent. Your beta cells use this opportunity to repair oxidative damage accumulated from months or years of metabolic stress. Mitochondria, the energy factories inside each cell, become more efficient. Free radical damage begins to reverse. These cells that were exhausted start to recover their vitality. This isn't the complete regeneration your liver is capable of. Your pancreas cannot grow back from a small fragment. But within the limits of its biology, significant functional recovery occurs. Beta cells that were dormant, too stressed to work properly but not quite dead, begin participating in insulin production again. There are limitations to this recovery. If you've developed advanced diabetes with significant beta cell death, the damage may be permanent. But if your dysfunction is still in early stages, this 3-week mark represents a turning point. Your pancreas carries within it the capacity for recovery. Not because you've earned it, but because your biology is designed to heal when given the opportunity. Around day 20, if you could observe your pancreatic function in real time, you would witness something elegant. Your beta cells are regaining what researchers call the first phase insulin response. This is the quick, sharp burst of insulin that should occur within minutes of eating. It's the metabolic equivalent of a perfectly timed answer to a question. When you've been consuming refined carbohydrates chronically, this first phase response diminishes or disappears. Your beta cells lose their ability to respond quickly and precisely. Instead of a sharp, controlled release, insulin trickles out slowly and excessively. It's the difference between a doorbell that rings once, clearly, and an alarm that blares continuously. 3 weeks without refined carbs, and that precision returns. Your beta cells begin communicating with each other more effectively through structures called gap junctions. These cellular connections allow beta cells to coordinate their insulin release, creating synchronized pulses rather than chaotic output. The elegance of this system becomes apparent. A small amount of insulin, released at exactly the right moment, accomplishes what large amounts released continuously cannot. This recovery means your body can handle occasional natural carbohydrates with appropriate insulin responses. Your metabolic control system is no longer broken. Your pancreas whispers its instructions now, patient and precise, rather than screaming them constantly into an unreceptive void. Around day 30, you might notice that your energy feels fundamentally different. Not just better, different, more stable. The crashes that used to define your afternoons have vanished completely. The desperate hunger that would strike unpredictably no longer controls your schedule. This isn't willpower holding against cravings. This is your metabolism remembering its original programming. If you measured your fasting blood glucose now, you would likely see it normalized, sitting comfortably in the healthy range. If you checked your HbA1c, the marker that shows your average blood sugar over 3 months, you would see it trending downward. These aren't just numbers. They're evidence of a biological system that has shifted from dysfunction to function. Your pancreas is operating as it was designed to operate, quietly, efficiently, precisely. The constant emergency that defined the past months or years has ended. Your beta cells produce insulin in measured, appropriate amounts. Your glucagon works in proper balance. The inflammatory storm has passed. The oxidative damage has been repaired as much as biology allows. 30 days ago, your pancreas was screaming. Now, it whispers. The glucose roller coaster that defined your metabolic existence has been replaced by steady, sustainable energy. Your body has stopped lurching from crisis to crisis. It has found its rhythm again, the ancient pattern encoded in your DNA. This is what metabolic health feels like: balanced, resilient, and profoundly forgiving.